Here we are live on Vibrant Aspect Media, and it's the post-show podcast. And Coach, we just got done talking about obviously the playoffs against game against Lehigh being Friday night. But with all that and where everything's going, I think overall, after all said and done, you're probably in as good a position as you would if you maybe were a one seed, as far as that's concerned. You're just on the bottom side of the one seed. You're going to see sort of the same teams.
I think you look at the bracket on our bracket. I don't think there's a, I don't think there's. You look at either side and say, oh, I don't want to be on that side, or I don't want to be on that side.
I agree.
It is what it is. We're there. I think we did, obviously, with the numbers game, playing the team with the lowest RPI, we did get that. If you want to look at it that way, that's a positive thing, I think.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. The way things got jumbled up, it was seemed like week 10, which was the week our last week, that everything kind of got jumbled up. Who you thought was going to be a district champion?
Well, I think we
didn't
thought
become right, including us. You got us.
Yeah.
You had Gulf Coast and down in Naples.
Right.
You thought they were going to be the one, and then that northern Pinellas County deal. I mean, that's all. It went from being Pinellas Park all year to Mitchell winning it, and then you had Pinellas Park and Eastlake both making it out of that district, and you had really just us. And Manatee, and then one other. I think Lehigh's the only team from that area that got.
Yeah, Pinellas Park is a tough draw. I mean, they got a stud running back there.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're happy drawing that as a district champ. And then, again, we talked about Eastlake on the show. Eastlake is traditionally a someone that shows up in the playoffs. I mean, 2 years ago we played them in the regional championship.
Yep.
Here on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, you don't want to face a team that's got that kind of pedigree.
So you're facing a coach over there, and Coach Hudson at Eastlake, that he's been doing it a long time and been in the playoffs and had a lot of experience in the playoffs. So so the Palm Beach Lakes, I'm not sure what their playoff history is, but I want to say I would say that Eastlake probably has more experience in the playoffs.
Just think about where they came from. Because so let's say Dwyer.
It's usually Dwyer.
They've been they've been running roughshod on their region for a while.
Right.
And they would usually face the St. Thomas's before or whatever.
Right.
And so now you're looking at it and you're saying, well, okay, so Palm Beach Lakes, they may be new to this. Now you never know what they've got to bring or what kind of season they've had or what kind of players they have, but they are going to be probably a little bit inexperienced when it comes to the playoffs, especially going into the second, third round.
Yeah, so I think that's not looking ahead, but just as a fan, that's gonna be an interesting game. The Palm Beach Lakes and the Eastlake. I mean, even though it's a 1 versus 8, that'll be interesting to see.
I think overall the whole region is interesting to me. Like you said, you don't want to play Pinellas Park, and Manatee gets them.
Right.
You say you look at that matchup, you're like, okay, listen, we all want to hang a banner. We all want district championships. That's the one that's you see how it goes. You get that district. That's not the easiest thing in the world to get, and you want that. But when it all shook out, how many years did we used to say, man, we just won the district, and look who we get to play.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? All of a sudden, maybe for a change that maybe it's not where we wanted to be on the road or whatever, but maybe it's the best thing, and maybe we got the better draw. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you never really have any say in who you play, but you're right. In the last couple of years, I mean, you look at the draw we got, you're like, holy cow, we're the district champ, and round 2 we're playing this team, and you're like, well, this is really the second best team in the whole
Braden River.
region.
We knew that the Braden River game was going to be that was the regional championship week 2. Now, just kind of get off the beaten path a little bit. You look at that old district of ours, which is 6A for the most part, part of our old district.
Right.
Palmetto plays all year round, has a great. They're number 1 in the state in 6A for how long, and they got to play the guys down the road that's a rival. You know what I mean? That know them better than everybody else. They haven't had the best year, but they're. I mean, I'll give Braden River a little bit of credit. They played a tougher schedule than they normally do.
You know what? They just played the Clearwater International team that we were supposed to play. That's really talented.
It was a tough game.
28-30.
Right.
So you never know what's going to happen. Come Friday night. I mean, that's going to be interesting. Even though Palmetto got the better hand, early in the year, I know it's tough as a,
second time around.
Yeah,
man.
it's always tough.
Stinks.
It's always tougher, and they know you a little better. And luckily we were able to, in that 3-year period, well, actually the 4-year period, I think both teams, Braden River and us, they won. When Braden River in 2015, they beat us twice, and then
Correct.
16, 17, 18, we beat them twice. So there was never a switching of that. But we've been involved in that as far as look at Charlotte in 2009, we were undefeated, or 2008.
And here they come again.
Yeah,
right?
undefeated. We had a running clock on Charlotte and on a regional televised game, and
I remember walking out of that game in Charlotte that night, and old memories, but the Charlotte fans were asking for autographs from our kids. That's how good we looked against Charlotte. They were like, man, you're pro. They're asking the kids, like, what are you talking about? They even their crowd was like sort of genuflecting to us in some way. And then it goes
they
crazy.
come back, and then that was the old
The knee on the ground.
took a knee and scored a touchdown play.
Yeah.
But so it is tough, and obviously, if you're the team that got beat the first time around, I think it's always to their advantage the second game.
Sure. Because we got nothing to lose.
Right.
And a lot of times teams just go and they just go, let's throw something exotic out there, and then you spend a quarter and a half trying to figure out what the heck they're doing.
Right.
Because you didn't see any of that before. Because again, they're playing with house money. They got nothing to lose.
Right.
So they go for it. So anyway, I think the matchups are going to be interesting. I think that first round is going to be very interesting in our region to see how sort of everything shakes out and see where it all kind of shuffles around. I think, my opinion, looking at what I saw, I think the bottom half of the bracket is anybody can win those games. That's not the 3-6, the 2-7. Mitchell is playing. Again, I should know who it is, but they're the 2, and they're playing Sawgrass Ridge or whatever else it is, and then Manatee versus Pinellas Park. I think that's sort of whoever. I think that's a whoever situation, and then our top part. I'm going to say it. I think we probably should win this football game. I think that they're good. I think we go into it. So again, I think it'll be interesting how it all works itself out. With that, I will say this, and we've talked about this probably a little bit more than normal this year because we're looking at it a little differently. But as the years go by with this new system, I like it. I think it's a much fairer way of things working out. I think
it's better. It's better than it was.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of debate on social media and people that are upset that did not get in, and really the easy answer is then you need to schedule harder.
That's the point.
If you're gonna,
the criteria.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it's in place is to get teams to schedule harder. And if you don't run the table, and if you're not 9-1, first of all, if you're 9-1, you're going to get 0.9 in the big categories, so you're going to make the playoffs no matter what.
Right.
If you're 8-2, you're going to make the playoffs, even if the other categories aren't very good. Because the thing with us is our category is we're very low on that first
0.5,
number.
Yeah.
But our second 2 categories, opponent's record and opponent's record, are very high. That's why we're a 3 seed, because we schedule harder, and that reflects where we're at.
Right.
So I think one thing it was is it's built to say, hey, you need to schedule harder and schedule harder teams. Now, I think we'll see that. I think everyone's like, oh, okay, well, I guess that does make sense because you do have to schedule harder. So I think it will be, you will start seeing teams that will step up and play harder teams. And
the thing is, so I will say this, they don't have to go out and book IMG.
Yeah, no.
You know what you do? You book Venice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're looking for games.
Right, and then that's what I'm saying. How many years did you say I can't? You're looking for a game, and that's the difference now. If you're a local team, I think you'd be my first phone call. Or if that's the way it works out.
One thing is, we're going to play a tough schedule, and so that third component is always going to be very, very high.
Sure.
And then traditionally, not this year, not so much, but traditionally, you look back and we're a 9-win football team.
Right.
In the last 7-8 years.
Sure.
This year not the case, but traditionally we're a 9-win football team. So I would think that people would be like, hey, coach, we'll play, last year trying to get games, we had teams that said, we're a 30-minute drive from them, and they said it's too far. And then they're going up to Tallahassee, asking for money to go up there. So hopefully that type of stuff will end, and we'll be able to at least field a full 10 game schedule, and not have to play Mater Day and Bishop Gorman and these top schools that are able to recruit. And, but we will.
No,
listen, what comes down to, we will.
There's nothing wrong with because that's a bit of having that reputation. If you once you start dabbling in the top 20, and around that stuff for year after year in the country, you get into that 7A semifinal range, and all of a sudden you're in this orbit that puts you in a whole different realm of teams, and you get recognized for that. Rightfully so. Teams aren't going to say, "Who are you?" and "Why are you calling me?" and that kind of stuff. So, but again,
you're the team that likes to.
So I think that's the thing. I think it makes it fun for us to have that little bit of thing. But again, I also like to see that when there are good teams. I mean, the local matchups. That's where it makes it percolate. That's the one you say, like, that's the headline grabber. Venice versus, if it's this year, let's say it was Palmetto or whoever it may have been. That would have been a huge draw matchup and local media and all that kind of stuff, because that's what you get that real pop off of. It's not just that you say, hey, you're playing some team from Maryland. You're playing the two best teams in the area are showing down, which is great. And I will say this, overall though, not a bad showing for the area as far as playoffs are concerned.
No, you got two teams that are number one seed in their region in Palmetto and Riverview. Charlotte got in, correct?
Charlotte got in. Charlotte got in. Lemon Bay, I think, got in.
Lemon Bay did get in.
And then Palmetto Braden River got in.
Port Charlotte.
Yep. So again, it's a testament to that this area, the smaller football is on the rise as far as competitiveness is concerned.
Right.
You're seeing more and more teams, and again, even for as bad of 2 years that Lakewood Ranch and Sarasota had a year ago, this year I think that was really good strides as far as getting the programs back on track.
And that was
we're not really up to speed.
And so that showed, and so they almost got in a situation where Lakewood Ranch gets in the playoffs and they don't. It's so close, just because their schedule was so weak. Mm-hmm. And even though they beat Lakewood Ranch is getting rewarded because they played a tougher schedule.
Right.
So that's one thing I think that needs to be known is, hey, you gotta actually have a challenging schedule, and that everyone's always saying, well, the opponent's. Well, that's just another level, of how tough your schedule is.
Sure.
If you had another opponents, it would even add another level.
Right.
So.
A little bit offshoot, staying in the football realm. Big news yesterday, or day before yesterday. Willie Taggart gets fired up at Florida State. Willie Taggart being a Manatee guy, you know him a little bit, I'm sure. What's your feelings on the firing and the timing of the firing as far as that for FSU?
Yeah, I don't really have a comment. I'm really worried about we have two young men that are committed there, and two other guys that have been offered there. You got Malachi and Thomas Schrader who are committed there, and then you have Ethan Mort and Chuck Brantley who've been offered. So, for those, I don't know, not so much a big deal with Ethan and Chuck, but
the two seniors, yeah, for sure.
The big thing with Malachi and Thomas, that those guys that were committed there, and I talked to Thomas today, and I said, you got to understand, you really want to go to the place for the school. I was telling him, probably 90% of the places you go, not going to be the same dudes there when you graduate.
Look at. I think we talked about earlier. We were talking about the guys that are in college right now. When Bryson Javon went to there, and a year later, that guy's gone.
Yeah.
You had.
I think Trey went through 3.
Yeah. At Florida, he had Urban Meyer, and then I think he had Muschamp was his last guy, but he had Adazio for a little bit. I forget. There was something. Might have been an interim scenario or something along those lines. But anyway, you're right. You don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So it's really about do you like the school as opposed to just a position coach or a coach? Because a lot of times the position coach is recruiting you, and he gets a job somewhere else because you got a pay raise.
Yeah, like Trey's position coach, Dan Mullen, he was gone before he ever got to school. So.
Yeah, we never met Urban Meyer. We never met Urban Meyer because that's who was the recruiter.
Graduated.
No doubt about that at all. Again, it is a tough situation. I'll make one little comment about it. I think that to make the move mid-season like they did, maybe seem like it's a quick move or a harsh move. But I think if they really feel like they've made their mind up, that I think it's probably for the best. That way, he's getting a great. Don't feel sorry for Willie. Willie got a buyout. Willie got a lot of money. Yeah. And so, that's not the greatest thing in the world, as far as for
I find it
reputation.
interesting that the boosters raised $20 million that quickly. Wow.
Quickly. But that just tells you that this had been percolating for quite a while.
Yeah.
They just didn't go and say, hey, I got $20 million under my bed. I'm going to go get it for you. So they knew something was coming. And the idea of they may have a few I wouldn't say there's one candidate, but there's a few guys I think that they're definitely hot on, and I think that they're going to try to get it sealed up before the December recruiting season starts, because that's the new thing now. You can now commit or sign in December as opposed to having to wait for February. So that early signing period, a lot of times is when these bigger, you don't want to lose those 4 or 5-star guys that they like because they can sign early. So I know I kind of get that, but big shakeup, and it's happened quite a bit, and again we'll go to our picks here a little later, but I picked FSU to beat Miami, and that was the worst decision I made. I thought
I tried to tell you that.
Yeah, I didn't see that big of an egg being laid, because Miami didn't look like a team that could win a game by 17 points, let alone beat their rival at home, and to have that kind of showing
Miami was
terrible.
dogs.
Yeah. I was given 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was like Florida State had enough, because I seen them doing some stuff with Cam Akers and this and that, and it was a disaster from the get-go. So yeah, it's a pretty tough situation. With that, as far as that's concerned, our picks from last week, I'll kind of get into that a little bit now, because I talk a little more about college football. Big weekend. Last weekend was a big game, Florida, Georgia. That kind of shook out the East a little bit. And then now this weekend, the game everybody's been waiting for is 1 versus 2, LSU, Alabama.
Right.
I know you got a pick on that one, but
how did you do on your picks?
I was 2-5 last week. I had
2-5. We only picked 5.
No, 2-3. So 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
So I won the Army game. Army covered. Army got 14, and they lost by 3. And I had I missed on Florida. I missed on Florida State. I missed on, oh my goodness, I just had it. UC I missed on. And then I won on, I picked Utah.
And then I won the 3 late games that I picked. And I can't even tell you who they were, but I know it's 3-2. We'll keep track this week of who we pick.
Right.
So 3-2, still a winner.
No, that's going to keep you that's going to keep you going. If you do 3-2 every week, you're doing all right for yourself. That's for sure. But again, going back to the college football thing, it's been an interesting college football year. I think the last couple years there's been some clear top 2, 3, 4 teams, and I think right now, looking at how it is, it's sort of jumbled up. I haven't
heard a whole lot about Clemson lately.
Everybody's down on Clemson. The only guy I've seen that's keeping on Clemson number 1 is Joey Galloway on the little college football final.
Right.
He's like, you're the undefeated, you're the national champion, you're number 1 in my book. But you've got Ohio State, you've got 3 undefeated teams in the Big Ten. You've got Minnesota playing Penn State this week, which is the game I have a pick on, which it was my hardest one I had to go with something, and I went with that game. But they're undefeated. Ohio State's undefeated. Baylor could throw a wrench in the whole.
I watched Baylor, and I wasn't overly impressed with Baylor.
No, but it's one of those. What do you do if you limp into something at 12-0?
Baylor's had to beat Oklahoma twice.
Right.
I don't think that's happening.
And then now the Pac-10 or the Pac-12, I should say, who everybody had nothing good to say about early in the year. Now you got Oregon that looks like they're playing at a certain level.
No, they look pretty good.
And Utah is for real. They are a solid football team. And I think that's going to the winner of that game, if they can maintain the 1 loss, they might as be considered, because there's a possibility in the SEC that they could just cannibalize each other.
They are.
You know, because whoever comes out of this Alabama
I think these two teams, Alabama and LSU, make it. You know, because LSU, do they have a loss?
No, they're both undefeated.
So they'll have a loss, and then, but they won't have to play each other again.
Right.
And the bad thing about the Georgia-Florida deal is, you know, the winner of that gets the date with whoever the winner of.
Right.
You know, so that makes it tough. So they're going to.
That's exactly. So I think what happens is that while you wouldn't want to say this, but potentially the loser of this game, if they go on and run the table the rest of the way, might be better off than the winner, because the winner's got to go back around and go play a Georgia team if that's who does make it.
Right.
Who
But I think Alabama did that. Didn't they do that last year?
Yeah. Exactly what happened. They got in. They got in. They've done it. It's happened a couple times where they got a 4 seed and then they end up winning the whole thing because they got to kind of come in on the backside. But while Georgia won that game against Florida from start to finish, it wasn't overly impressive. But it was a kind of a game that if they can play that kind of defense and ball control and play smart, that's how you beat an LSU or an Alabama.
Right.
And again, a neutral site, and in Georgia gets there, that's no neutral site. That's in Atlanta.
Right.
You know, so there's no neutral site at all
That's
about
right.
that. So this will be an interesting situation. All right, with that, let's go to the picks. You want to start? You can go first.
Sure. Speaking of Alabama, I'm going
it is.
Alabama -6. We're -6 right now versus LSU. I just really think that whoever the quarterback is, I just think that they're a little bit above LSU. I know everyone's hot on LSU. Even though, you know, Florida had a chance to beat LSU earlier in the year.
Yeah, and I think again, I look at Alabama as the favorite. It's at home, and I think that they put so much pressure on a quarterback. You know, Burrow has been spectacular. I mean, he's 80-something completion percentage rate or whatever. But you saw the Auburn game and the Florida game. If Florida had both of their defensive ends playing in that game for any length of time, and you could have put pressure on Burrow, I don't know if they score the 42. And I think that's what Alabama will do to them this week.
And then I got Georgia Southern -2.5 at Troy, or versus Troy. Troy is a team that Javon and Bryce just had a great game against.
Right.
I just don't see it being that close with Georgia Southern. I think they're getting better. Hopefully give the ball to LaRoche a little bit more, score some points.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to go South Carolina -5 versus App State.
Okay.
App State's a team that was undefeated and everyone's real high on, and Georgia Southern beat them.
Right.
And Georgia Southern's a 3-loss team. I just don't think that they'll be able to hang with South Carolina the whole game. And then I'm going -14.5 Oklahoma versus Iowa State.
Okay.
I just think Oklahoma has a lot to prove. If they want to stay in the hunt, they're going to have to look good for the voters. And I think that they're going to try to have a great game every week out.
That was one of the games I was kind of debating on, because the number one guy that FSU supposedly is looking at, the Vegas odds guy, is Matt Campbell, the Iowa State coach. So if he is in negotiations with Florida State this week, or there's something going on, that might be a precursor to playing poorly this week against Oklahoma. So I don't want to get that inside on it.
Well, that would be, Matt Campbell's, that's where Eli's at.
Yes.
And so Eli's been with.
Going all the way.
Yeah. So that would be neat if
FSU.
Eli did that. Yeah,
no doubt.
And then my last one is Kentucky +1 versus. Kentucky's at home. They're a dog at home. I just think that they have a good
defensive line, as far as I'm concerned. And Tennessee, they've had a couple of good games.
Right.
They are still not that.
And they're
ready.
huge rivals. And
yeah.
They're at Kentucky, and so we'll see.
I agree. All right. So the first game I'm going to pick was the one this is the one I had the most issue with. 2 undefeated teams in the Big Ten. I'm taking Penn State, giving 6.5 to Minnesota.
I was going to take that too.
I think that Penn State is battle tested. I like their quarterback. I think what PJ Fleck is doing at Minnesota is awesome.
Right.
I think he is an on the rise guy. I hope his next move, wherever it may be, is the right one. I hope he doesn't take just a job because it's a move. Although I just saw today that they gave him an extension to 2026, trying to keep him happy.
Stay there.
Stay
PJ.
there. And I'm telling you, you could at Minnesota. I know it sounds weird, but you could do something in the Big Ten at Minnesota. If you can do it at Wisconsin and you can do it every place, why can't you do it at Minnesota?
Right, that's
so
right.
I agree.
New stadium too.
Absolutely, he's got a whole and where his success has been up in that area. He's like a regional hero. The
Right.
guy is, and he's got a great personality, and he's the right guy. I think his personality at a big school, he's row the boat, he's all that stuff. I think it might fall flat at a big university. Like what's this boy talking about? This rowing the boat stuff. Go win. Next one I'm taking BC, Boston College, giving 1.5 at home to Florida State. Florida State's got to be in disarray. Who are they winning for at this point? You know what I mean? So I'm thinking that BC covers the 1.5 against Florida State at home. So they're BC minus 1.5. I'll take them. I am taking Virginia Tech plus 2.5, and I can't read my own writing Wake Forest. That's right, Wake Forest. I like Wake Forest. They're a one-loss team. Virginia Tech is just they play a lot of 1-point games, man.
Yeah, they're getting better.
And I think at 2.5, I like them. I like them. They're at home. I like the home.
Right.
I like the home underdog there. So I like Virginia Tech for sure. And got to go a little love for Jared for sure. Next one, I'm taking Kansas State plus 7 over Texas.
Okay.
I think Texas is an underachiever. I wouldn't even say that. I think Texas football, and I'll say this based on just following recruiting and whatnot. The biggest problem Texas football has had is that they go out and recruit the state of Texas, and they recruit kids in the 11th or the 10th grade, and give them full ride scholarships, and then these kids do nothing the rest of their career. We know we've played in Texas and it's great football, but a lot of times, but they play a style of football that's way different.
Yep.
They're playing 90 to 86 football games. It's all shootout, it's all offense, and I don't know if that these guys that they're recruiting are physically tested to play.
Yep.
And Texas has fallen prey to that, and I think I like him. I like that a lot. And then the last game, maybe it's because I'm a little bit bitter from the last week, but Missouri's getting 17 at Georgia. So Georgia, to me, has not shown me that they're a blow you out team.
Right.
I think they beat Missouri, but I think 17's a lot.
Yeah, they're not a blow you out team. You're right about that.
So I think Missouri can cover the 17.
Yeah.
Or get the 17. I think it'll cover because and again, you got to think about this. If being a Florida fan, my worry is beat Georgia, lay an egg somewhere down the road. You got Vanderbilt this week and then Missouri afterwards. So because you're coming off that high of that game and it was this big buildup, and then you come out and you're still playing an SEC team, and then Missouri is a contender. Well. So it's not like you're playing Florida and you're going and playing, a slappy. You're playing a tough team. Right. So I think that might be I think they win, but I think Missouri get covered for the 17.
Well, there's our timer.
That's my 5-0 pick, so I'm going 5-0 this week. Let's see how it goes. I put a little time into this, and I thought it out, but the Penn State one's my.
Well, let's everybody try to make it down to Lehigh and root our Indians on, and we're going to try to do our best and prepare and get ready to play.
It's not a big ride.
No.
You're talking about an hour down to 75, and it shouldn't be too bad. And I think it's pretty easy to get to the school. I'm thinking it's a.
No, it's not. It is easy. It's kind of like
off the interstate kind of thing. Yeah. So guys, just come on out. We really need you there. And the kids always. I don't know if everybody realizes that when you come out on an away game and you're looking at your crowd and you're coming out of that faux tunnel or the cheerleaders are cheering for you, you look up and you see like 500 people in the stands. It's a heck of a good feeling. You feel like you're running into somebody's arms. And
no, it is good. It is a good feeling.
All right, with that, we do appreciate you guys joining us here at Off the Wagon for the post-show podcast. And again, we'll be back here next week, and we'll see how our picks did, and we'll see how everything else went for us on Friday night. With
Sounds
that,
good.
for Coach John Peacock, I'm John Mussone. See y'all here next week on the Post-Game podcast. See ya.